Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be removing the starter from a 2005 Honda CRV, and this should apply to other models around this year too. So first thing we're going to do is get a 10 millimeter socket and an extension here, and what we're going to do is we're going to undo this one, and then we're going to undo this one right here. As you can see, this has already been removed, so we're going to do those two. And then what we're going to do is you're going to see a plug right here. You're going to remove this one, and underneath that plug there's going to be a hose that this one just slid off. It didn't have a clamp or anything. After you undo that one, next thing you're going to do is you're going to come over here. You're going to see this blue plug, and all you have to do is depress the tab here and pull off. Then we're going to grab this one, which is adjacent to it. We're going to depress the tab and pull off. So that's 3 plugs so far and a hose. And once you've done that, you're going to remove this thing. You're going to take it out. It's over there now. Underneath that, you're going to see this one here, and this one you're just going to depress the tab and pull it off. And that one is located right here, but you can't see it because it's under that rubber hose right here. So once you do that, next thing you're going to do is you're going to see right here there's a zip tie, and you're going to undo that zip tie by cutting it with this wire cutter. So cut that with the wire cutters, and then next thing I'm going to do is we are going to undo the 4 12 millimeter. There's 2 bolts and 2 nuts. So you're going to get a breaker bar like this, and then you're going to get a adapter, and then a extension like this, and then you're going to take this and you're going to undo the 4. I've already undone them. So one is this. There's 2 that look like this, and then there's 2 nuts. It's very important that you don't drop the nuts when you undo them. The nuts are on the bottom left, one on the bottom left and one on the top right, and these hold the this holds the throttle body to the intake manifold. So once you take these 2 and these 2 off, you'll be able to slide this off. See how it's coming off? And that's why I said it's very important to cut this thing first, because if you don't cut the zip tie, you won't be able to take this throttle body off of the intake manifold. Okay, on to step 2. So up here you will see a cover that looks like this, and you're going to want to take these 2 up. They're 2 10 millimeters. So 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter. You're going to do that and take this cover off and place it here on the ground or something. And these 2 right here are from the last part, so don't worry about those 2 bolts. Okay, so now that you remove the cover, next thing you're going to do, those 2 bolts, the 2 10 millimeters you just removed, they go here and here. So all right, next thing you're going to do is you're going to see a little hose right here, and this hose, it can be removed. It'll probably be frozen on there. You can use a hook tool like this and just kind of go in here. Be careful not to puncture the hose. Go in between here and the hose and just kind of go around here, but don't force it. Be really patient, because if you puncture this hose, you're gonna impede its function. Okay, next thing you're gonna do, and you're gonna need that little hook tool in a second. So next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna see a 12 millimeter here, a 12 millimeter here. Those are 2 nuts, and they are these 2 nuts right here, this one. And I've actually put the nut on the bolt. So you're gonna see 2 12 millimeter nuts here, like I said, and then you're gonna see one here, 1 bolt here, another bolt here, and another bolt here. And you're gonna undo those 3 bolts. So 2 nuts and then 3 bolts. And then you're gonna see this hose right here. And to get to this hose, it'll be easy. You'll just use a set of pliers and pull this back, and then once you do that, you're going to have better access to this bolt here, which is already removed. It's going to look like this. So Once you undo those 5 12mm things, next thing you're going to do is you're going to come here. There's going to be a trunk latch here. I've already removed it, but these are 10mm nuts. I'm going to undo this one, and this one, and then that is going to free your hood latch so that you can have more space to work. Okay, now next thing is, once you move this hood latch out of the way, you're going to be able to pull this off. The intake is going to come off, right? So the intake's off, and then you're going to see a little hose that goes right here, and it's already off. As you can see, this little nipple, this bronze nipple, has a little hose that goes to it, and you'll see it. It is this hose right here, and if it's frozen for you, what you could do is try and use this pick to try and get around where it connects, the hose connects to the nipple, and then just try and free it. And when I pulled the intake down, it just came off after I did that. And as for this hose right here, you can use a little hook tool like this to get between the hose and the plastic nipple and try not to puncture it. As I said, don't be impatient. Okay, so after you free this hose, and make sure you move this back, and then after you free this hose, we'll move on to step 3. Okay, part 3 is there's going to be a plug right here. All you have to do is pull on the tab, push on the tab and pull it off. Then the next thing you're going to do is come over here. You're going to see this hose connected right here. What you're going to do is you just squeeze this little clamp, and then you can pull this hose off. And then the next thing you're going to do is the throttle body has 2 hoses underneath it. So there's 2 hoses underneath the throttle body. There's 2 clamps. So you'll see there's one clamp goes on one hose and one clamp goes on the other. So maybe mark them with a piece of Sharpie. Maybe mark one of them with Sharpie and then the other one with Sharpie or something, or put a piece of tape, and that way you can know which hose goes where. You don't want to mix them up. Okay, I guess this is part 4. Shit, I'm losing track with how bad this is. So alright, the next thing you're going to want to do, part 4, disconnect this thing. It's not this one, I'm sorry. Disconnect this one here. See, we're looking at this part of the intake, right? And you're looking at it, and here on the side there's a connector here, and you just squeeze and pull off. And then the next thing you're going to have is this green thing right here. It's going to be very hard to get off, but what I suggest is if you could get to the other side of it, you could squeeze it. You could squeeze it and push it out, but I got really frustrated, so I just did what most mechanics are going to do, and that is to cut this off. And once you cut that off, you'll be able to free it. But first I want to talk about the hose that goes to the bottom of the throttle body. See the 2 hoses we disconnected last time? One's on the left and one's on the right. See, here is the one that goes to this gold connection, see? And so the gold connection, that one, the gold one, the one on top, is going to leak coolant. And when you disconnect that one, I want you to be ready with a 1/4 inch extension to plug it up, because you're going to lose a lot of coolant if you don't plug it up right away. So plug that up, and then the other one's not going to leak any coolant. At least this one didn't. So all right, now that we've taken the intake off, we will have access to the starter, and that's going to be part 5. Okay, so here's the last part. To get the intake off, what you're going to do is you're going to have this sitting in here, and what you're going to do is you're going to try and get this green part right here. you're gonna try and get this to clear over this upper radiator hose. So you're gonna try and get it up over here, and it's gonna be really difficult. It's gonna be really hard. So you're gonna have to remove the throttle body, but I've shown you how to disconnect those connections. So once you do that, you're gonna find that this damn thing is in the way and it won't let you clear it. But I promise you, if you keep going over here, and if you could somehow disconnect this radiator hose, you'll be able to clear it better. But that radiator hose is going to be in your way, so you're going to have to either do one or two things: push this down very hard and try and get the intake over it and to the right, up and to the right. That's the way the intake's going to come out. It's going to come out like this. And once you get that over that radiator hose, or you can somehow get this radiator hose off. I can't even get to the clamp. I think it's real stupid the way it's on there. I don't even know how you would remove that radiator hose. I guess you would have to move the air box out of the way. So you could try and do that, get the air box out. I don't show you how to do that though. So you can either try and just get it up over this hose or remove the hose. And then once you do that, you get the intake out. Then you're going to have access to the starter. And this one here, this one just pulls right off. Actually, it could just fall off on its own if you don't put it back on right. I'm not going to take it off, but there's a little rubber boot, and you just peel this back, and then you could just pull this off. And then when you put it back on, make sure you're really careful to, I cut off a piece of the boot so that I could remove the piece of the boot, because you'll see what I'm talking about. When you try and put this back on and connect it to the new starter, it's going to want to, like, the boot's going to want to, like, push the connection off. It's going to make you nervous that this connection one day is just going to come loose and your starter's not going to start, and you're going to have to do all this all over again, or find a way to push it back on. So try and make sure you connect it right. I cut off a piece of the boot, I connected the little metal tab thing, and then I put the rest of the boot over it to hold it in place. But I could see why somebody might want to solder it, because it's kind of scary thinking that it could come off. Now the next thing is, this one here is going to be taken off with a 13mm socket or a 13mm wrench, and you could just use a 3/8 ratchet and a 13mm thing. And then behind that there is a I believe it's a 14mm bolt. See, so there's a 14mm bolt holding the starter on back there, and that 14mm bolt, get to that with a adapter that goes from a 1/2 inch to a 3/8 inch, and use a breaker bar like this one and take that off. Now the last obstacle is going to keep you from getting the starter off is going to be this one right here. It's a bolt that is a 17mm, and as you can see, I kind of stripped it a little bit. I don't know if you can see, but I stripped the hell out of it, and somehow I was still able to get it off. So you might have to use a torch on that to get it off. And once you remove that, the starter will come free. So 2 bolts will hold the starter to the tranny or whatever, and then you have these 2 connections, electrical connections, and then that's it. Your starter will come free, and you can return it for your core charge. So if I find anything useful, any other tools or stuff, I'll mention them in the description. If I find any parts that I think are really useful, I'll mention them in the description. But if it's not something I think will help you a lot with this job, then I'll leave it out. So, all right, everything's going to be to put everything back together, reverse installation. Just do everything opposite you know, opposite of what you did to get all this crap off, and good luck. And one more thing, the coolant that you lost, you're going to use this coolant here, 50/50, and make sure that it says on the back, on the bottom, ethylene glycol. See, under ingredients, water, ethylene glycol, diethylene glycol, proprietary inhibitors. So make sure you use the right coolant, or look up what coolant your CRV uses if you don't trust me. Thank you for watching the video. Comment, like, subscribe. Good luck, and have a great day.